to NBC Sports presentation of the Ford Ironman World Championship.
The Ironman is 30. And they still come back to take what it gives.
It's a grueling day. It's just the fact you have to swim 2.4 miles, bike 112, and then run a marathon.
You have to find a way to deal with racing for 8 hours because nobody's body is actually capable of racing for 8 hours.
It is pretty daunting and pretty scary when you think about what you put yourself through. It's not really what we were made for.
I think if you really want to win this race, you have to go beyond what you're physically and mentally capable of.
You go through heat, humidity, hell to get there.
I think I'm going to die.
It does hurt. It physically hurts. You know, your body takes a pounding.
I can expect to be physically driven to my absolute limit. I'm looking to push myself till I have absolutely nothing left.
I prepare myself to suffer more than I've suffered all year.
I told my wife they're going to have to carry me out on a stretcher this year. That's how deep I want to go this year.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
$1,731 competitors await the challenge of a lifetime. Some think they're ready. Some hope they are. In over 8 hours, we'll find out. He's the epitome of recent suffering here in Kona, the defending champion, 34-year-old Australian Chris McCormack. For years, he pushed, but the island pushed back. Until last year, when he finally reached the pinnacle of his sport. When he first got to Kona, he made no apologies. He would win this race. Some called it cocky, but that's just Macca.
You know, he likes to talk a bit of trash. He likes to, you know, throw some, I guess, big, bold statements out there. But, you know, the other thing about Chris, too, is he's backed him up.
Macca is the tough competitor. He's won a ton of races. Nobody's won more than he has. And he's won this one over here last year. Definitely he's the toughest competitor, I would say, out there. He's delivering every time he's there. He's on.
What about today? A challenger to McCormack could be fellow Aussie Craig Alexander, who finished second last year in his debut, hence the number 2. Or Norman Stadler. The German has won here twice, but it's a what have you done for me lately?
Everyone is looking at the 2-time world champion, and if you finish second or third, it's not good enough for most of the people. So you have to win here.
Winning is exactly what Chrissy Wellington did last year in her first attempt, and that's not supposed to happen. The Brits' smashing debut in Kona was so impressive, her competition is still blown away by what she did.
She's definitely was in a league of her own last year. We had nothing and no one could have gone with her, and I think this year it's hopefully will be, you know, there'll be more competition for her with us guys.
I knew physically that she was more than capable of winning the race. She's an amazing athlete, and you know, I've trained with her all year this year, and what people don't realise is she's twice the athlete she was last year.
Now they know. Natasha Bodman is a 6-time winner here. Only Paula Newby-Fraser with 8 has won more. But there's an air of uncertainty surrounding her this year. She comes to Kona after crashing on her bike here last year. The injury, in her words, destroyed her shoulder. So up until a few weeks ago, she wasn't going to compete, and her training has been at a minimum. At 41 years of age, you have to wonder, how many more of these does she have in her? Jeff Conine, a veteran of 17 Major League Baseball seasons and a lifetime of big games, is making his Ironman debut, and the unknown of this makes it daunting.
Oh, I've been in, 2 World Series. I've been at All-Star games, and I think I'll probably be more nervous sitting in that water before that starting gun goes off on Saturday morning that I was at all 4 of those events prior to this.
Jeff Conine, you're up. Now it's no turning back time. The training is done. There is a slow, magnetic approach to the start, and there is very little talking. After all, what is left to be said? Everyone has a story. This is athlete David Goggins, moments before the start. And this is Special Operator First Class David Goggins a half an hour before. A Navy SEAL making a parachute landing in Kailua Bay to signify the beginning of his Ironman. He is not alone, and this is why they write books and make movies about these guys. How many of us can truly treasure the experience of a single day that didn't include a birth or a marriage for the rest of your life? For 1,731, today is that day. Natasha Bodman waits with the rest of them, and even the waiting can be tiring. Then, a massive release of adrenaline churns the Pacific white. The 30th morning in race history is as gorgeous as most of the other 29. As the race moves away from the quaint center of Kailua, it does so with chaos that can lead to a kick in the face. The cruelty of the punishment guaranteed in the day ahead comes at them fast. So, the event that changed endurance sport forever begins anew, as astonishing as it was in the beginning. This is the Big Island of Hawaii, and the Ironman invaders are here. The swim is 2.4 miles long, but this is just the pregame show. If you intend to win this race, you must try and stay within sight of the competition. It has been said, you can't win the Ironman in the swim, but you can lose it. After about 45 minutes, the field has thinned. But what looks like a lead for 2 can evaporate in seconds as you make the adjustment to being on land. The first men hit the shore. Former champions Chris McCormack and soon after Norman Stadler are right there. It's out of the swim uniform and off to the bike as fast as possible. 112 miles of pedaling comes next. There are major players all over the lot, and there's a lot of assessing going on. How the competition looks and how you feel yourself. Now six-time winner Natasha Bodman is out of the water soon after Jones and wants to gauge where her body is right now. You can't train so that you feel great on any day. Like last year, when Natasha, the great champion, was forced to walk.
Everything was shaking, and I felt horrible. And I felt like I'm gonna fall apart or probably couldn't walk again. And then someone just, I heard shouting. And then I just said, yeah, that's not the part where I'm gonna stop. Even if I have to walk it, I'm gonna finish that race.
Natasha finished 10th last year, but she did finish. Over the next half hour, the rest of the field heads out to the bike. Their ages span 7 decades, and some make you think, no way. At the head of the bike race is American Chris Lieto. This is his strength, and he admits he wants to set the pace on the bike. Question is, what will that get him? In the chase pack are all the contenders, including Chris McCormack. At this moment, Chris McCormack has the advantage over Norman Stadler on the bike. Very strange. Stadler is supposed to be superior on wheels, while McCormack is better in running shoes. The last thing Stadler probably envisioned is this, getting passed by McCormack on the bike. Stadler is quickly in very unfamiliar territory. The last time any man repeated was 5 years ago. That was American Tim DeBoom, who's back after missing last year with a stress fracture.
I don't think missing a year hurt me at all. If anything, it's going to help me. Recovery-wise, deep in your body, you've only got so many of these efforts in you. And to miss a year might be a good thing for me. After winning once or twice, you definitely know what it takes to win here.
The biggest challenge any champion faces is staying there. It's hot today, like lava hot. All the signs are wrong for Norman Stadler. Start with the clock. He's losing time to the lead. He's being passed by riders, which on a good day would never happen. He is actually consoled by one rider, and that tells you there is also some physical signs that they see. There's been a crash, and Natasha Bodman is the victim. The cause? A cone in the road, of all things. The damage? An injured shoulder and forearm. A return to the race doesn't seem plausible. The thought of another win instantly gets rearranged.
That's the most...
It's the most difficult.
Natasha, one in here? Well,
I go anyhow.
I know you're really tough, and
I try to. Yes, please.
We'll hold you till you're going.
Hey, cool. Thank you, guys.
Natasha looked like an old lady, then sounded like a little girl doing what she loves. There's no way she can finish this. Is there? One moment, it looked like the next destination for Switzerland's Natasha Bodman was the hospital for x-rays after her crash on the Queen Kaahumanu Highway. The next, she's getting a push and giving everyone around her an uplifted feeling. The can-do attitude of a 6-time champion. Now, the first thing Natasha had to do was regain her rhythm and find ways to stroke and minimize the pain. That accomplished, Natasha could begin to catch up with the race. Now she is making up serious ground. Natasha Bodman is doing this. We return to the rivalry between Chris McCormack and Norman Stadler, which is personal and very juicy. Very different for the Ironman world, where rivalry has always been defined as Mark Allen versus Dave Scott.
Dave and I really had a respect for each other athletically.
and we were competing against the perfection that the other one was going to bring into the race. That's, in my opinion, a very healthy rivalry. It brings out the best in you.
I don't think there was the internal friction that we see today with the top guys.
Macca and Stadler, it seems like not only are they competing against the other person's athletic ability, but they're really trying to kind of beat each other up on a personal level. And I don't know if the respect is there between the two of them.
Every triathlete respects their body, and right now Norman Stadler's is badly malfunctioning. He can't keep down any fluids, and that can mean system shutdown. This is why there are no guarantees. If Chris McCormack could see these pictures, he would know the race is changing. The rush and the adrenaline are starting to wear off for Natasha Bodman. The pain is starting to take over and dictate the pace. It's her shoulder, perhaps, and the simplest things are becoming major obstacles, like reaching for a water bottle. The trademark smile of Natasha Bodman is gone. This is Brian Boyle. It's his first Ironman. July 6th, 2004. His father Garth got the call. No parent ever wants.
She said, Brian's been in an accident. He's in critical condition. And I proceeded to just say, no. No, and on my third no, I'd find myself on my knees. Never felt so hopeless in my life.
The impact shook Brian's heart to the other side of his body.
In all honesty, I did not think he would make it, because it's one of the worst traumas I've seen, and I've done this for a little more than 15 years.
He was pretty much hanging by a thread, that he could pass away at any time.
It was unbelievable, because I don't think there's any greater torture in life than watching your child suffer.
There was a little stairway. Me and her stood in there, and we cried for about a half an hour in disbelief. Couldn't believe that this was happening to us. I just wanted to have my little boy back. Any way I could get him back.
When I would get in the elevator every morning, Garth and I would go upstairs to see him. My stomach would turn because I didn't know what I was going to face when I would go in. Every day it was just something new and something worse. It was never a good day.
2 months of bad days, and Brian lost hope.
I just couldn't take it anymore. It was the agony, and it was the suffering was so excruciating that I just did not want to live anymore. I started praying to God, just end this, end the pain, end my suffering. I said my final prayers, and I was ready.
I told my wife, I said, I think, Brian's given up and he's going to go away from us now. So on the second visit, I gave him a pep talk. I had to tell him that he was the only thing we had in our lives. As far as I can go with that, guys.
years ago, Ricky James was racing motorcycles. Now at 20, he's seeking his new limits in a very tough game. The first memory of the Ironman for Sean Swarmer is like most everyone else. He saw it on TV. But he was in a hospital bed at age 13, suffering from cancer, stage 4, Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I remember going through about a year of chemo treatments, and because of the medicine and everything, I actually swelled up to about 60 pounds. You know, I was 60 pounds overweight. Like I said, I was 13, so my friends were out. You know, the hormones were kicking in. They were chasing girls, worrying about the latest hairstyles and shoes and everything. I'm 60 pounds overweight, you know, sitting on the bottom of the shower floor, crying my eyeballs out.
Cancer wouldn't let Sean Swarmer be an athlete then. Now, 20 years later, and healthy, he's competing to defeat his past. The pro men make it to the halfway point of the bike. Whatever wind was in your face is supposed to be at your back. Supposed to be. But this is the Big Island. Jorban Simbal still leads, but Chris Lieto is right behind.
I try and prepare for all eventualities. I think that's important for any athlete, professional and amateur alike, to visualize what might happen, both good and bad.
This is bad for Chrissy Wellington, but a flat tire is not that big of a deal.
And I think you need to have a mental plan as well as a physical, how to change a puncture plan to be able to deal with that.
But this time, the plan doesn't work. She turns on the CO2 canister before putting on the valve. So all the CO2 escapes and doesn't go into the tire. Now her canister is empty and she's desperate. She had a 5-minute lead almost halfway through the bike, and now she is stranded by the side of the road without anything to fill her tire. She needs a good Samaritan in a bad way. Oops, not that one. Last year's Ironman champion Chrissy Wellington. The lead that she enjoyed on the bike is gone as the rest of the lead women go past. She had a flat tire and used up her CO2 cartridge because she didn't attach it to the rim the right way. Now she's desperate to get another, or maybe something else. She'll settle for anything.
Can they get me a pop? Pop? They're allowed to give me a pop, right?
Chrissy is allowed no outside assistance. But if there's another rider, that's a different story. And word gets down the road to the approaching riders, and Rebecca Keith tosses her CO2 cartridge to Chrissy.
Thank you, babe. Thank you, guys.
She redoes the valve and fills the tire. Wellington said Keith's decision epitomizes everything great about the Ironman. Now it's time to get busy and make up that lost ground. But nervous energy used up is energy used up. The new leader in the women's race is 37-year-old Aussie Belinda Granger. Her best finish here, 6th, 4 years ago. Natasha Bodman is holding steady and gaining ground on some, but not among the leaders. Deep down with that shoulder, she's realistic. There's a lot of pressure to put on your shoulder, riding in this position for 5 hours. As Belinda Granger makes the turn at the halfway mark, she doesn't know how far back Chrissy is, but Belinda is still realistic about her lead.
She's still going to win. She just won't win by as much now. fucking smiling.
Chrissy Wellington is really in their heads, and for good reason. If Tjorvon Sindball is going to win, he knows running isn't his strength, so he must get a lead on the bike. But how much energy do you expel to get that lead? It's the ultimate Ironman question.
I'm sure that the guys in the lead pack could probably bike faster, but then it would hurt the run. So it's all a balance, and you can for sure you can leave your race on the bike if you go and push it too much.
He's a calculated rider who will see if his strategy pays off. Inside his body, physiological things are in motion that will provide an answer. For 72-year-old Harriet Anderson, surviving training to get to race day is the hard part.
I was going down this road and a car was making a left turn and I saw him coming up. And as I got to the intersection section, he said he didn't see me and just went through and hit me. I was very lucky. My bike was just crushed. And I guess I just flew through the air and landed good. And I just had soft tissue injuries.
David Goggins is a member of the Navy's elite SEALs team, but it wasn't always that way.
I used to weigh 280, never ran, hardly at all. Some SEALs died in Afghanistan, and I just wanted to find a way to raise money for their families. So I found a foundation, and I had to pick something to do. And most SEALs, you know, we don't just go out and sell hot dogs and hamburgers or have a car wash. I had to find something kind of medieval to do. So I Googled the 10 hardest events in the world. That's how I started running. Ever since then, I've been running and trying to test myself. I don't like running at all. I don't like running, I don't like biking, I don't like swimming. But to me, endurance sports is the only way you can really test yourself. I get up real early in the morning, 3 o'clock, and I usually get a run in anywhere from 10 to 15 miles, grab breakfast, bike in 25 miles into work. And at lunchtime, most of the time I'll run 5 to 6 miles. And around 5:30, I'll bike back home, 25 miles. And then if I get home and I feel good, I'll run again. I know it's not the correct way to train for any event, but it's just how I do. I like testing myself every day. To make it through SEAL training, you don't have to be the best. You just need to be consistent and really mentally tough. And just like with the Ironman, you don't need to be the best biker or the best swimmer or the best runner. You just need to be consistent and, you know, be able to mentally get through all those challenges. I just want to go out here and see what I have against some of the best athletes in the world, because the best athletes in the world are in the Ironman.
David Goggins in his arena of choice. Now it's time to get off the bike for leader Tjorvon Sindball. As much as biking is his strength, running is his weakness. He openly admits he can't stand the Hawaiian heat, but it doesn't stop him. Cycling specialist Chris Lieto is right behind. He's been in this position before, but like Sindball, has trouble on the run. So he must worry about who is behind him. That would be Norman Stedler, who has proven he can stand the heat of the lava fields in Kona. Next, the K-Swiss running course. Lieto in pursuit of Tjorvon Sindball for 26.2 miles, bathed in white to try and stay cool. Belinda Granger is quietly heading back toward town to start her marathon. She is totally unaware of what is happening behind her. And suddenly, she is very aware. Of Chrissy Wellington in zoom mode. In just under an hour, Wellington has overcome the flat and is back in front. The day is starting to take its toll on the professionals. Former champions Thomas Hellriegel and Luc van Leeuwen have dropped out before the marathon. And the list gets longer, as another former champion who can't continue is Chris McCormack. For him, it wasn't physical.
He pulled me over and he's like, "You've snapped your cable." Said I could fix it 30, 40 minutes. I said, "Don't worry about it." Long way to come for a mechanic guy.
A snapped brake cable roughly 60 miles into the bike ends the defending champion's day.
Just throw it in here.
You can prepare for everything to a point. And then sometimes you have to be resourceful to get where you want to be. In the Ford Ironman World Championship, everybody needs a plan. For Tjorborn Sindbal, the plan was to go hard on the bike and then hope. Natasha Bodman just had hope because her best shoulder ruined the plan. Chris McCormack hoped to win, but you can't plan for a broken cable. Norman Stadler has everything still intact. And Chrissy Wellington's speed has given the other women little hope, even though Wellington needed sportsmanship to solve her flat tire. No shock, it's hot in Hawaii. Tjorborn Sindbal still leads the men's marathon, wearing white to battle that heat. Norman Stadler has caught Chris Lieto for second place, and he likes that. A knock on Stadler a few years ago was that he's not a strong runner. But after the win 2 years ago, those critics are quiet. More bad news for Lieto. Spain's Enrico Llanos is quickly becoming a player. Llanos has had a good year, and his emergence isn't going unnoticed by Norman Stadler. Chrissy Wellington, like last year, has reached the transition first. That's a confident smile that is not lost on her competition.
It's going to be demoralising for the other athletes if she does get off the bike in first place. It's almost like the other athletes, even the great runners like Kate Major, it's almost like, well, we're racing for second.
You smile when people say things like that. Now Belinda Granger gets set to dismount. She's in second place, but someone is gaining. Lurking back there is an Ironman rookie, Yvonne van Vlerken of the Netherlands. She was 36th after the swim, but she's had the fastest bike time today while paying a price.
My legs hurt, but I think those other girls, their legs hurt even more, so just keep on pushing, and they're suffering even more than I am, so it doesn't matter.
It's oh no, not again time for Sindbal. A familiar feeling, that of someone approaching on the run. And it's Norman Stadler. More than 16 miles to go in this marathon, and you get the feeling this was inevitable. Norman Stadler is now the leader. And Sindbal, he's the picture of fading. Natasha Bodman, the news isn't good either. Normally, she rides like this, with bent elbows. But the injury to her shoulder forces her to ride like this. Thus, more weight on her legs. That toll and her lack of training prematurely end her day. She makes it to the transition, but lasts only 9 miles in the marathon. There is no preferential treatment on the Big Island of Hawaii. Everyone suffers. 68-year-old Roger Little is simply a passenger in the wind, beaten down by the heat and weaving all over the road. The time cutoff is at 5:30. This is a maybe. The conditions that are the legend of the race are taking their toll. And at every turn, there are dreams turned to carnage. Leanda Cave was 8th last year. This time, having a cold is a disaster. And then there is Roger Little.
Right up to him. Right up to him. As close as you can. Okay, here we go. Stop here. Stop here. That's good. Stop here. Stop here. Stop.
Back up. Hey, I'm
No.
All right. 2 years ago, Norman Stadler won his second Ford Ironman World Championship. Now he's the leader with over 16 miles to go in the marathon. It's a long way, but he's been the hunted before and hung on to win. Stadler looks solid. Behind him, a confident Aussie, Craig Alexander, has passed the fading Tjorbon Sinbal. In 5 miles of the run, Alexander has made up 4 minutes. So Sinbal was absolutely cooked.
You're just cooking from the minute you hit the tarmac. And the funny thing is, it's tricky. You know, it's not coming to you until you've run for an hour. And then you might start to, you get hit in the head with a hammer.
It's not just that your lungs are burning and your skin's on fire and your feet feel like they're on fire because the pavement's so hot, burning through your shoes, and your stomach doesn't want any Gatorade because it's full and it's sloshing around, yet your body's screaming for the calories, and everything about your body is saying stop, and your mind is saying you got to keep going.
It'll just strip you down to your core where you're just suffering. You can feel it all the way down to basically your insides.
Chris Lieto can relate. The elements are part of why he's scraping the bottom of his soul. The fast approaching Craig Alexander has him in his sights, and there's nothing Lieto can do about it. Alexander is moving up, and his legs are strong. Lieto hangs for a time, but it's only a temporary hang. Suddenly, Norman Stadler's legs aren't strong. He's cramping, and maybe worse. Norman is still the hunted, but he's wounded, and the Spaniard, Enrico Llanos, is there to make a move. Once a pass occurs in a race like the Ironman, it is seldom reversed. especially when you look at Stadler's recent condition. Fight as you might, the inevitable overcomes the will. Norman Stadler has to stop. Llanos is the leader of the Ironman. But coming is perhaps the best runner among the contenders, Craig Alexander. Winning for either of them would be the best athletic thing they have ever done. Alexander then passes a grimacing Norman Stadler. And he's gaining on the leader, Llanos. "10 miles remaining in the race. And 10 feet separate number 1 and number 2. The race is on. Each man takes a measure of the other. All seemed confident in both of their worlds, until the unpredictable happens.
Listen to him. Go.
The women know where they're going. Is Belinda Granger fading, or is Yvonne van Vlerken gaining on her? Perhaps both. None of it matters to Chrissy Wellington, who is still comfortably in front. Watching the men's race is like watching torture. Norman Stadler says, "I give for now." Sinbal is in the same emotional neighborhood, but has a reason for every step.
Every step is pain, but still, you know, there's someone coming from behind to catch you, or you want to catch someone ahead of you. So you have to kind of be able to focus enough to go beyond that.
I think the last 40 minutes to an hour of the race is going to be the toughest part if you're trying to win here.
Alexander is new to this Ironman game here in Kona. Exceptional performance here last year. But there's some demons he has to face.
One of those demons was McCormack himself, and he isn't in the way anymore.
Timex salutes Chrissy Wellington for winning the Timex Watch bonus on both the bike and the run. For the men, it was Torbjorn Sinbal winning on the bike and Norman Stadler on the run.
The last 6 miles of the Ironman is where you have to push your body to the edge and then go beyond it to maybe somewhere you have never been. It's a secret society among the winners, and they don't let you in easily. That's what Craig Alexander is dealing with right now. Looking strong is Belgium's Rutger Beeke, a far cry from last year after his legs, quote, wouldn't fire, and he walked the marathon. That day, a contender became one of the others.
I got a lot of respect from the age groupers, and I remember a couple of them, like one lady was passing me on the run when I was walking, and she said, "Come on, run with me," and I just had to say, "No, sorry, you're too fast for me."
He's told his wife they're going to have to carry me out on a stretcher. That's how deep I want to go this year. Still all alone in front of the women's race is Chrissy Wellington. Last year, she ran a 2:59:58 marathon, the second fastest, only 42 seconds off the record. A record some think will be hers today.
She's got quite a few more marathon runs up her sleeve now, and she really knows how to give it to herself, and I don't think she's afraid to. She knows that she can run hard from the beginning and she's not going to blow up. So I definitely think we'll see a marathon record broken on Saturday.
Less than 10 miles to go. Her biggest competition right now is what her mind is telling her heart. The smile is gone for now. In second place is Yvonne van Vlerken in her debut. She's had success in other Ironman races, but this is the World Championship, and she's never raced Wellington or raced in this type of heat. Belinda Granger is using ice and whatever she can grab to try and cool down an overheating motor. Meanwhile, Craig Alexander looks like he did an hour ago, and he's lengthening his lead. He's been running for close to 2 hours and 45 minutes, but you can't tell that when he hits town. Then it was time to relax and enjoy. A swim of 51:43, a bike of 4 hours and 37 minutes, and a marathon of 2:45. Second place a year before and a win now. This is one special 35-year-old. At the finish, a pause that almost says, have I really done this? Yes, Craig, you have. Llanos held on to second, a career best at the Ironman, and mutual respect is obvious. Last year, he walked the marathon and finished 898th. This year, Rutger Beeke crosses the line in third. Walking was the order of the day for this former champion.
It's not a shame to finish 10th here. Many guys try to be one time top 10 or top 15 and do the same training like you did. And so if I have a bad day, I will finish.
Some might have quit and not put their body through it, but Stadler gutted it out and finished 12th. Once again, the Ironman brings out his emotions. David's day started out a little earlier than most, when he parachuted out of a plane into Kailua Bay to start his Ironman. It's an average morning for a Navy SEAL.
Certainly, physical fitness became a bigger part of my life when I joined this Naval Special Warfare community. So a natural shoot-off of this kind of active lifestyle, I think, was triathlon. And I think an overarching theme of being a SEAL, something we certainly train for, is mental toughness. Success in triathlon is certainly about the ability to endure pain and to suffer. So I think there are a lot of parallels. When you do an Ironman, I think it opens your mind to, I'm not only capable of this, but I'm probably capable of a lot more if I'm willing to put the time and effort and conditioning into doing it. I think everyone that lines up at the start of the Ironman probably has a different definition of winning. Finishing strong and knowing that I gave my best effort throughout the duration of the race and left it all on the course, I think that's probably a victory.
Keith is in charge of SEAL Team 1 and racing for the first time in Kona. Meanwhile, for the second year in a row, the Union Jack is going to be carried across the finish line by Chrissy Wellington. Last year, she said she didn't enjoy it much because it was all new to her. Now she's relishing every step on her way to back-to-back world championships. The next woman, at least 10 minutes behind. And Belinda Granger was right. Chrissy smashes the marathon record by 1 minute, 32 seconds. Notice how number 1526 lets her have a moment. And yes, the smile is back. Rounded out the podium. Yvonne van Vlerken finished second. And Germany's Sandra Wallenhorst, using the second fastest marathon time ever, finished third. In the men's race, the leader after the bike, Thorbjørn Sindal, finished 44th. Even though the pros are finishing the marathon, most of the age groupers are still trickling in off the bike. Some in better shape than others.
Soon enough, man. That bike. Oh my God.
Jeff Conine begins the marathon. And Ricky James, with his support team, get ready for the same 26.2 miles. We last saw Roger Little struggling with the wind. His Ironman is over. Now, moments that are countless hours in the making. A finish at the Ironman. Pros and amateurs share the joy. So much so, Belinda Granger and Rebecca Keat do a chorus line for finishing 17th and 18th. But Keat, on the right in the purple, will be remembered for her assist to Chrissy Wellington. Then, you start wondering, as you might every year, what did that person sacrifice to do this? And that one? Or this one? Did it change their life like it looks? Then perhaps an Ironman first. Identical twins, Philip and Jörg Hunning of Germany, crossing the line together, of course. They're 32 years old and are